All right, everybody, we are on day 14 of the craziness of making NES games fast. We are cranking out just 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day is all that you need, and we can make a NES game this month. I like these tutorials. They're short, they're quick. If I can find the time to make them every day, you guys can find the time to do them, and we are just slowly cranking and inching towards something that has evolved a lot since our beginning. We've made this kind of thing. If we remember, we made this Boo awesome thing. I'm almost turning a corner where I want to be sort of done with the mechanics that my game has to build real levels and start thinking about narrative and what this game's all about. I'm going to reset all placements for a second so that Boo's not in the room. And today, I'd like to, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do all the stuff I wanted to do today or extend it into tomorrow, but I want to make something that keeps my character constantly moving. One of the things I always admired about The Legend of Zelda is that you had those sort of four statues in the corners of the room that would shoot at you in a lot of rooms, and it would force you to continually move. That you had to stay engaged. You couldn't just hang out in a room unless you found like the little hiding spot over here. Incidentally, one of the reasons probably why there are hiding spots like that when something is supposed to be shooting at you is because we're dealing with an 8-bit number. And if we're looking at degrees of a circle, there's 360. But if we're looking at the amount of values in a byte, it's only 256. So there are going to be some dead spots if you're only using 1 byte for aiming type trigonometry style physics. Or inertia. So anyway, that just total aside right there. But anyway, we are going to, we learned how to make something chase us yesterday. We are going to make a projectile that shoots at us, and we're going to make a timer in the room that will, we're going to create these sort of statues that shoot at us. And we've got to use a little bit of logic. We can't really do this with a tile type without slowing down the game, but we can do it with sort of arbitrary values. And if we look at this stuff right here, we could use screen bytes, or we could just rough in where the corners of a room are if we always want to be in our corners. And so, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the best way to handle this. We could also create tiles. And on the screen load time, we could get their position, and then we know that was the position. I just want to do something that's really kind of easy right now. So I'm going to make like an eye somewhere, like an eye statue, and it's going to shoot at me. So I'm going to pixel editor. I'm going to go to my background. Remember, I used all this one up, so I'm going to go to CHR3, and I need to make some kind of statue. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change this to the correct palette, which was 1. Which one did I use? Nope. Oops. I used this one, I guess. Yeah, okay. So I'll see it through that. And I am going to copy this. And I want to make a statue. So I kind of want to sort of see what this looks like on top of each other here. So that's not going to work because this... Yeah, I'd have to do it like this. So it's like a 2-tier statue. But then what I want to do is I want to make this statuesque. So I'll use this. Oops, let's do this, sorry. I'll use a rectangle like this. One more tile over, oops, more tile over. And I'll use black. And we'll just make this go straight down. So it'll be like almost like a big thick pillar here, but in this spot right here is going to be an evil eye. So I will take this and no, we're going to do that far on that side and this on this side like this. This eye is watching me. And I'll use the lightest color to fill this in like this. And I could make the eyeball. I could use all this. So I could use maybe something like this. That definitely sort of screams eye. And if I kind of want to give it some style, I might do something like this. Ripping off a popular adventure game franchise with the iconography here, but you get the idea. Not a great eyeball. Works for me. I'm fine with it. I don't actually need this anymore then because it is literally just a copy of this one here. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of this. And I can reuse this top for the top of this, and I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now I've got this eye that will shoot at me. And I will go back to my overworld. And let's put that somewhere in the room. I might have to refresh, so I'll do that. I'll come back, I'll refresh. Look at this. And I should be able to take this eye and put it somewhere in the room, and I can put a top on it like that. And what I'm going to do is, I can even put two of these. So I'll put one here, and I'll put one here, and now we're really getting sort of that Zelda territory. And they're going to shoot at me sort of wherever I am, sort of randomly. I'm going to make them solid. Now, there's a couple different schools of thought. There's a couple different ways I could approach this. One way I could approach this is I could make a tile type that makes these statues. And then whenever a timer goes off, I look for, I check through all of the tile types, the whole collision, and I see, is that one, is that a shooter tile? No. Go to the next one. No. It goes through all of them. Yes. Okay. Now it creates the bullet when the timer goes up. That's going to slow down my game a little bit, potentially. Instead, I'm just going to give it values. I'm just going to say this position and this position. So really, I'm going to make these just solid. I'm going to make these solid. So, but anyway, that's just, like if I wanted these to be somewhere different on every screen, the more I think about it, okay, I'm going to show you that way. We're going to see how it goes, because I might want to put these statues on different screens. And okay, so let's check this out. What I'll do instead of that, I'm going to go to my script settings. I'm going to make a label called my 7 will be left statue. And the reason I'm going to make two different types of statues, is because I want the timing of left and right statue to be different. I want different timers to trigger them. So instead, I'm going to make just where the eye is. I'm going to go to collision. Just where the eye is, I'm going to make, let's see if I come back. Sorry. Left statue. I'll make this one left statue. And I'll make this one right statue. Okay, so we'll do it the long way, and I'll show you how to do it. So we'll start with this one. I could also make a screen bit that is like a screen flag that says, statues trigger. But we'll just do timers no matter what. If there's statues in the room, it'll do it. If not, it'll just keep going. Every time a timer goes off, it'll check every single tile in the room. And if it sees number 7, it'll use that as its position to shoot. So also, we need something for it to shoot. We need a fireball, right? So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to my game object. I'm going to go to my pixel editor. I'm going to open my game objects. And I'm going to put a monster fireball here. And it only has to be 8x8. So I could use a really tiny spot right here for my monster tile. And the reason I want this is because if I want monsters to shoot at me, if I want, whatever I want to shoot at me, I'm going to want it to use the same, I'm going to want it on the screen all the time, no matter what monsters I have loaded. So this is the stuff I know is always going to be there. So I'm going to change this to monster palettes. And if I remember, I've always got red monsters right here. I think red would be a really smart color to do sort of a fireball with, right? So let's make it a little bit bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do this. We'll make it basically as big as we can make it in an 8x8 sprite. And I could do like an animated fireball. It would look way better. But for right now, this will do. And I could put like a tail on it. I could make it bigger than this, whatever. Just trying to work relatively fast. I want to sell it as a ball. There you go. Save that. And now I'm going to make this projectile. I'm going to call this, and it'll show up over here in a second. There it is. I'm going to use this sub palette to make this, right? The red monster sub palette, which is in this slot. And I'm going to just make it 8x8. So that's the size of it. I'm going to call this monster projectile. I'm going to go to object details, bounding box, whole thing, details, it is a monster weapon. Now, it is totally possible that this module doesn't have a monster weapon collision with the player. So I could make it a monster because honestly, I want the same thing to happen if it's a monster. So I guess I could put monster. Generally, we'd want to split this up because a monster is something like I could destroy if I shot it or something like that, whereas a projectile I probably couldn't. So that's why there's 2 choices. But in this module, we started emulating a Pac-Man game, so it doesn't really have that. So I'm going to just put monster here. I just want you to sort of think that out. Solid object reaction, I want it to get destroyed. Edge object reaction, if it gets to it, I want it to get destroyed. I could even say that it doesn't do anything when it hits a solid object and it just continues on. That's probably a better way. So actually I'm going to make it so nothing happens when it hits a solid object. When it gets to the edge, it's going to get destroyed. It'll go through solid objects, and that'll look pretty common for NES games. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to set it to 24 and 255. I'm not 100% sure that I know what I'm doing, but let's see. I'm going to give it the action that moves towards a player. And it's just always going to move towards the player. That's it. And so I'm going to close that, and I'm going to save that, and it's going to show up over here. Okay. But I don't want to place this in the room. I don't need to put it in my graphics banks. I don't need to do any of that. I've got a game object. It's going to be created in my scripts. So what I need is a timer. So I'm going to go to my overflow RAM. I'm going to add 2 bytes. And the first byte I'm going to add is left statue timer. And my second one is going to be right statue timer. Awesome. So at first, I just have to remember what these are called, and then I spell them right. I'm going to open up my, let's do my pre-draw, because that's dependable. Like I know that is going to happen every frame. So if I go to sprite pre-draw, and I've already made an edit, so if I screw this up, I know I can go back to the first one. So I'm not doing this respawn timer, but I'm doing a very, very similar concept here. Right, I'm decreasing the timer and I'm loading it, and then yada yada, like I'm resetting it. Okay, so this is very similar. I'm going to count down the timer right here. So I'm going to decrease. Let's do this. I'm going to give myself a comment. Left statue timer. I'm going to decrease left statue timer. I'm going to load left statue timer into the accumulator, and then I'm going to check it. If it's equal to 0, that means I've gone all the way down. I'm going to say do shoot from left statue. I'm going to make sure I put that in. Do shoot from left statue. Great. Here I want to say skip shooting from left statue. Now, I made a very long label. I don't need to make them that long. I'm making them that long so it's easy to read. So what's happening is I decrease the statue timer. If it's gotten down to 0, it's going to do the stuff. Otherwise, it's going to just continue in the code. And the next thing it sees is it's going to skip past. So at the end of that, I'm going to put right here, skip shooting from left statue. Okay, now, oops. If I want it to shoot from the left statue, what do I want it to do? Well, let's just make it shoot once for right now. And look, I've even got sort of an example. The problem is I can't just create the object. That would be easy. Remember, I'm always creating this at 8080. That was the middle of the screen. I got to figure out where I want to draw, where I want to create this. So we're going to do the math. We're going to actually try and figure this out. So here's what I need to do. First of all, I'm going to need to do a loop to check through the collision table. So I'm going to use Y for this. All right. So I'm actually going to back up Y and back up X. And at the end of this, I'm going to pull off the stack and restore it to X and pull off the stack and return it to Y. So you see what I did? I put Y down first and I put X on top of it. That means X is on the top. So when I pull something off the stack, I want to go back in X, and then the next thing I pull is the Y. Imagine if I place something down on this table and I put something on top of it, and I pull the top one off, and then I pull the second one off. You can see it's sort of the reverse order, right? Like I put the first thing down, it's on the bottom. I put something on top of that, it's on the top. So I grab the first thing that's there, I put it back in X, and the next thing underneath that's going to be back in the Y. Okay, so now I can mess with these registers all I want. And I'm going to use Y for my loop, and X is going to get corrupted when I'm actually creating objects and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load Y with the number 0. And now I'm going to put a minus sign. I'm going to put do loop. Do lop. Okay. And I'm going to load collision table, comma, Y. So I'm going to look at the collision table. And I'm going to see, okay, right now it's saying if the 0th point on the collision table, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to compare it to, and what number tile was this? Let's see if I can check that out. If I go back to my overworld, I have to remember what number it was. It was, for me, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if it's 7, I'm going to say if it's equal to 7, do the thing. Okay, which is, let's say do shoot, not do the thing. Do shoot. Do shoot. There we go. Do shoot. So this would be if it's not equal to 7. So what I want to do is I want to increase Y. I want to compare Y to 240 because there are 240 different values here. If I were to look at every single, if I was to look at every collision point, there's 16 by 15. That's 240. So it's going to go check this one, then check this one, then check this one, then check this one. If it's got to 240, that means it's done and it did not find anything that was value 7. So if it's equal to 240, I'm going to say NE do loop. So if it is not equal to 240, it's going to jump back to here. It's going to keep doing this forever and ever. So it increased the Y. So the next time it comes here, it's going to be 1. And it's going to do this. Next time it's coming here, it's going to be 2. Next time it does this, next time it's going to be 3. All the way until it gets to 240. If it's not equal to 240, it's going to keep looping. If it is, we are at last tile number 240. So what do I want to do? It's done. Jump. Done checking for statue, left statue. Come on, spell, statue. All right, so that's going to be right down here, right before we restore all this stuff. I want this to be where I'm done checking for left statue. That's this right here, done checking for left statue. Okay, now I got to deal with what happens if I do shoot. Okay, so if I do shoot, now I got to do some crazy math because I don't want the tile value anymore. I want to get the actual X and Y. So each one of these tiles is 16 pixels wide, right? So what I can do, if I want to get the X value, if I think about it, these are all, if I go X value, this is 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0, 5, 0, 6. This is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, all the way to 1F, 2, 0, all the way to 2F, 3, 0, all the way to 3F. This is E0 all the way to 3F, right? So what I can do is I can look at, they all go from 0 to F. I can look at that 0 through 15, that 16 values. I can look at the bottom part, the lowest part of the byte. If I look at my Y, so I'm going to turn Y into the accumulator, and I'm going to look at the last part of that byte. If we were to look at the numbers, this would be, doesn't matter what's up top, but this would be 0 through 15. If I did all these derivations, 0, 0, 0, 0 is 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 is 1, 0, 0, 1, 0 is 2, 0, 0, 1, or 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0 0, 0, 1, 1 is 3, 0, 1, 0, 0 is 4, et cetera, et cetera. There's 16 of those values, 0 through 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. And the reason that's important is this is going to sort of give me what my X value is. All right. So all I got to do is I have to multiply this by 16. So really, this is actually a unnecessary step, but just to make it known. So basically, if my X value is here, it's 0. If it's here, my X value is 16. If it's here, my X value is 32. If it's here, my X value is 48. If I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 15, 16, 17, 31, 32. That's the pixels. If I actually looked at the pixels of this, right? All the way over to 255 would be over here. Okay, I'm already at 20 minutes, so I got to hurry. I'm sorry I got to explain this so much. I wanted you to see what we're doing is we're masking off these high bits because we don't need them. What we need to do is we need to multiply this. If it's tile number 1, if it's tile number 0, I'm sorry, it's going to be 0. If it's tile number 1, it's going to be 16. So it's going to be 1 multiplied by 16. If it's tile number 2, it's going to be 32, which is 16 multiplied by 32. So we are going to take this number, whatever this was, whichever column I was in, and multiply by 16. And the way that we do that is we're going to shift it to the left. ASL, 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 ASL. So now I've taken this and I've basically made it here. I've taken whatever number that is and I've pushed it over there. So 0 would become 0, 1 would become 16, 2 would become 32, et cetera, until we get all the way over here. This would be 240, and then this would be 256, which we can't be. We're down here. So anyway, we've multiplied whatever this number is. The multiple would be 15 times 16, which would be 240. Now I've got the X value, so I'm going to store this into temp A. Okay. Now this was an extra step, but I just wanted to see if that could make more sense. What I'm going to do now is with the Y value. This is kind of cool. If it's on this column, it's 0. If it's on this column, right, it's the Y is 16. If I'm in this column, it's 32. The same. We're doing the same thing. But if I'm counting this, right, this whole row is 0. This whole row is 1. This whole row is 2. Well, that's the top part of this. That's all this part of this. So this would be 0. This would be 1. This would be 2. This would be 3. This would be 4. So if I just do this, load, if I do TYA and 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, now I'm masking off these bottom parts. I don't need to multiply. I don't need to move positions over. I need the top half of that. That is my Y value. So I'm going to store that to temp B. This is the position that I actually want to create the thing. Temp A, temp B. So I could use this exact same script here, create object, X, Y, what object I want to create, and what state that I want it in. So I'm going to create this at create object, temp A, temp B. And if I remember which object I was creating, it was 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'll make it at the 0th state. And then I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm not going to repeat this. I only want to do this once. The only thing I want to do is I want to reset the timer. So what I'm going to do is, and I want to kind of randomize it. So I'm going to do JSI do get random number. And I think that is the subroutine. So this is going to give me a random number. Oops. And I want it to be, at least above a certain amount. So I'm going to and in 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So it's going to be at least 32, and it could be any number from there higher. No, I'm sorry. That's not what I want to do. I want to say I want to get a random number, and I want to multiply it. So whatever it is, multiply it by at least 32. So if it happened to be 1, it would be I multiplied it by 32. It would end up being 32. Anyway, this is just a way that I can make sure that the timer doesn't happen immediately. There's a little bit of a buffer there. I'm going to store this as my timer, which was left statue timer. And then I'm just going to have it continue on because that's the end of the routine. So what should happen now is, we're really getting into code here and I'm doing it really fast. Hopefully you follow that. The left statue timer is going to count down. And then after a second or two, we're going to see it shoot a bullet at me. And then it should happen again after a second or two. Let's see if I coded that all right, or if I spelled anything wrong, or if I've got any. Nope. Okay, looks good. So let's take a look. Should shoot a bullet at me after a certain amount of time, and there we go. Shoots a bullet at me, and after a certain amount of time, it should shoot another bullet at me, and it did, and that's going to keep me moving. There we go. So what I can do to make the other one shoot at me is I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to copy all that, and I'm going to paste it. But now I'm going to decrease the right statue timer. I'm going to load the right statue timer, and I'm going to shoot from the right statue. Skip shooting from the right statue. Do shoot from right statue. So I'm just changing this, and I don't have to necessarily do this. But now I'm not looking for 7 anymore. I'm looking for 8 because that's the right statue. And so I'm going to jump to the right and do shoot the same. That's fine. And it's going to create it at that position. Everything's going to be exactly the same. But I'm going to change this to right statue timer. And since this is getting a random number, they should now be out of sync. The first bullet is actually going to come on the same frame from both sides. But the second one should be relatively random. And I think I went through, I think I got all the lefts to right. I think. So let's test this. And now what I should have, if I did that smartly, and I'm trying to do it fast, so they'll forgive me, I should have, they should both appear at the same time and shooting at me. I would expect that to happen. Yep. And now they should start to randomize. There we go. And now it feels like those statues in Zelda. And just as a way to make this a little bit more interesting, I, for the life of me, cannot remember what value speeds it up here. I don't know if it was jump speed or I feel like I reused a byte. So let me try and make this 64 and see if that makes it move any faster. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 2 frames. And in my frame details, I'm going to make the second frame this subpalette, which is going to make it the blue subpalette. And I'm going to make it flicker really fast. So really, it's going to look like this. It's going to do that. And I'm going to go into object details, actions, and I'm just going to make this flicker really fast. That's going to make it look a little bit more like something I want to stay away from. So I cannot remember. I'd have to go through the code, and we're out of time, which value actually speeds up aimed physics. I think if I just increase that, it should work. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's a lot. Maybe that's a little bit too fast, but I get the idea. I want to stay away from those statues. That's fun. And what's great about this method, and I wasn't going to do this method because I knew it was going to take me over 20 minutes, but what's great about this method is if I now take this and I move this, so I'm going to zero these out. And I'm going to zero these out. And what I'm going to do, by the way, left does not have to be on left and right does not have to be on right for this to work. That's just giving me 2 different timers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my left one, just to demonstrate the point, over here and show you that it'll still work. And I'm going to put my right one down here to show you that it'll still work. And so I'm going to choose left and I'm going to put it on the right. And I'm going to choose right and I'm going to put it on the left. And this will still work fine. And I'm also going to put solid the tops. And because of the way that I did it, I can re-put those anywhere, which I know is the better option. I was just being lazy. So the bullshit at the same time. Whoa! And now we can see no matter where I put them, whoa, they'll shoot. And I might want to increase the amount of that timer a little bit. I might want to make it not move quite so fast. I might just want to deal with their placements. So let me start with, I'll just make that a little bit slower in the details, and we'll make it maybe 48. And that'll help a little bit. All right. And I think that'll do it for today. We got it under 30. Sorry, I know I said I was going to make it 20, but I felt like doing this the right way was the right way to go. I was going to be lazy and do it a different way, but this is obviously, that's easier to avoid. Yeah. Okay. So awesome. And if I stand still, I get hit. I have to move now. So that's a much more engaging level design. And yeah, super fun. Okay. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it broke your brain a little bit looking at the code so much. I'm really hoping that we're getting a little bit more comfortable with the code. The best way to learn a language is to just jump into a country where they speak it and get airdropped in. And pretty soon you're going to be asking for food in the bathroom. You're going to figure out how to say those words really quick. Well, we're doing the same thing. We're just learning about things like decreasing byte values. We're learning how to load them into the accumulator, which is A. We're learning how to do comparisons like BEQ and BNE. That's branch if equal. And we know we branch to a label like that. Or JMP, which is jumping to somewhere in the code. We're learning about the stack, where we can back up variables and then restore them again. Learning a little bit about subroutines, a little about macro functions, and a little bit about 8-bit math and how we can mask off numbers. So that was a complicated one. I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of code there, but honestly, how many lines of code did we draw? Did we write 30 to? Really, we wrote about 40 or so lines of code, then we just copied it and duplicated it for the other side. So not bad. I hope you guys enjoy that one. I think it's fun. I think I'm starting to get my mechanics on lock that I can actually start building a game out of this. And we're going to start to think about going into next week about the narrative of this thing. Like, what is the story behind this game? And as we're building that, we're going to adjust the graphics to kind of make them better and that kind of thing. And we might make a couple more monsters that move at different speeds, all that stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care, and I will catch you tomorrow.